Welcome to Why Don't We Dress for Dinner Anymore? With my co-host Teddi Krochman, senior style icon,
and my co-host Melissa Pierce, documentarian and entrepreneur. Welcome today to our podcast. It's a little bit different platform than we usually use, format, I should say. We just thought that Melissa and I, would have a very casual little chit-chat session so that all of you can get to know us as hosts and co-hosts a little bit better, understand where we come from as far as fashion and style, and just kind of extraordinary thoughts about the world. So let's get started today. First of all, I would like to let you all know that our fashion podcast really doesn't focus on the latest trends or what's the latest styles. We do touch on some of that, but our podcast really focuses on more thought-provoking questions regarding the way we dress, the psychology of how we dress. Why do we dress the way we do? How does it reflect society? How does it reflect society in the past? How does it reflect society in the present? How does it reflect us personally? And what are we trying to communicate by the way we dress? So that's kind of an overarching theme on our show. And I think you'll love some of the very thought-provoking people that we have from all over the fashion spectrum. But today, Melissa and I just want to kick back, enjoy our coffee, and let you all know what we're about. So, Melissa.
Yes, Teddi.
I would just want to know, what was your thought process in putting the outfit together that you have today? Why did you wear what you wore today? Can you just give me a little thought on that?
All right. First, it was, oh shit, I should have picked an outfit out yesterday. So that was my first thought. Second thought was, oh, it really needs to stand out on camera.
Yeah.
I need to feel like I'm really presenting my character to our viewers. Right. So I picked out this printed vintage top.
It's beautiful.
It has a lot of coupons.
It's kind of sheer, very sheer. I love the material.
It's a little sheer. It's got this bow. I'm not really a bow person, but I thought it would kind of come alive on video.
Yeah.
And then, the vintage top is a little too small for me.
I can't tell.
Oh, you can't tell because you got a vest to go over.
She put a vest on over a too tight blouse. It's a good trick.
Right. So you can't really see that the buttons are pulling at my waistline because I've got this great vest.
The buttons are pulling at her waistline.
She's
got to tell us every detail this one.
You know what? You need to know.
Why'd you pick this outfit? Yeah.
You're going to fix something in your wardrobe.
Yeah.
And you fix it with style.
Perfect. Exactly. So you can wear stuff that you think you've outgrown or doesn't fit if you just know how to cover it right.
If you just know how to cover it right.
Right.
Yeah. And then, you can't see it, but I'm wearing a great pencil skirt.
Yes. Which you'll be modeling later in the extras.
And I have to give a shout out because it is Maria Pinto.
Oh, there you go.
And I think she just makes clothing that kind of is just a tiny bit shapewear, but not so much. Holds things just enough to be smooth. And I love that about her.
Okay, so kind of classic, but holds in. We love holding in.
We love
being held in.
We love a little gentle shape.
Tell me a little bit about your earrings, because Melissa, I think, has just a very unique taste in jewelry. She's always had the greatest jewelry on. This first thing people always notice about her is her glasses and her jewelry. It's kind of her signature. So just so you know, Melissa's glasses and her jewelry tends to be her signature pieces. So why'd you pick out those particular earrings today? Because, and just the question, now show them your earrings, Melissa. So they're kind of funky earrings, right? You wouldn't think naturally, most people, unless you're kind of fashion focused. She's got on what I would say is a relatively conservative looking outfit. And then she's got these really kind of funky, big standout kind of earrings. So what made you add that piece to your look?
So these earrings are my favorite earrings. And I actually picked these glasses to go with the earrings because I made for them so much. And these earrings were a gift to me from my partner.
Oh, very nice. Michael's very nice to her.
Michael is very nice to me. And they are actually carved out of wood and then burned. And I can't remember the name of the artist right now, although she is local to Chicago. Really? Local Chicago Black woman who makes this incredible jewelry. So it's handmade.
Perfect.
Carved out, then burned, then colored.
Wow.
And I will make sure that I link that up or put a little.
Yes. That would be great because we love to know who she is. She obviously makes some fantastic things.
She makes some fantastic things. And this is...
and we do love special jewelry.
We do.
I do too. I'm a jewelry person too.
Right. So a lot of my favorite jewelry, you'll hear me say, oh, this was a gift from Michael.
Yeah, that's fine. None of mine are gifts for my husband, Ken, but I'm a shopper, that's for sure. So anyway.
A shopper.
But I just want to say you look fantastic as usual. I met Melissa. It's spiritual. I want to tell you a little bit about our background history. I met Melissa at a Curio, which is a fashion organization in Chicago that brings together people from all over the fashion industries. They have mixers and minglers where we can all kind of network and get to know each other. It's really fabulous. They give fashion shows. They give events during the year. And Melissa and I met probably about 4 months ago at one of those Curio mixers. And we came up with the idea of this podcast just from talking. And so that's kind of how, how did you get that title? Why don't we dress for dinner anymore? It was actually a sentence that I just spit out when we were talking about, I was looking around the room and I was noticing how fashionable everybody was, how well dressed everybody was. And of course, being a little bit of a curmudgeon that I am, it's just, you get older, you get a little more curmudgeon-y. And I said, Melissa, why do we have to always go to fashion events to see people really bringing it as far as fashion? I mean, I'm so tired of going to expensive restaurants where you're putting out $200, $300, $400 for a meal and people look like they can stand up in 1 minute and go over to McDonald's and be perfectly appropriate. And then I started talking about, I love old movies. You remember that? And I was telling you about the 30s, these movies they used to dress in these gowns and get dressed. And then I went on about my mother and I looked at her and I said, why don't we get dressed for dinner anymore? And she said, that's the podcast.
That's our podcast is what I said. And we didn't really know one another from Adam, but
nothing.
But Teddi, being as enthusiastic as she is about all things fashion, made sure to stick on me and be like, when are we doing?
I contacted her as soon as I got home. I DM'd her, and because I didn't want her to forget about it. And I'm like, I can't let that go. That is too good of an idea. The concept is too good, and the title is too good. So now you know how we got our title. And how we came together.
How we got our start. But Teddi, why did you pick the outfit and the wig that you're wearing now?
Yes, this is not my normal hairdo. On previous episodes, you'll see my real hair up and down and that kind of thing. But I got this wig and I thought, well, try it. If I don't like it, I'll just return it or whatever. And you notice it's got the brunette kind of ombre, which gives it a little bit different look, and bangs, which I haven't worn in years. And I thought, I should put it on. And I remember I was in my pajamas and I put it on and I thought, okay, let me see what Ken has to say. And I came down and I thought he'll tell me either I look like Bozo, the clown, or, whatever. And he said, that looks good on you. I really like it. And I go, really? Do you think it looks fake? He goes, no, actually, it doesn't look real fake at all. I mean, it doesn't look like doll hair. It's not real shiny.
Right. It actually looks great.
And I thought, in fact, I showed it to my hairdresser and she says, we should cut your hair like that. And I said, no, because how it's got the beaching waves here. I have no patience for that gang. So I thought, why not just slap a wig on my head whenever I feel like having this kind of hairdo? I do like my hair longer because I like to wear it up in a bun, back in a bun, ponytail, curly. I like a lot of different styles that are easy. I rarely, if ever, use any kind of heat on my hair. That's the one thing when you have naturally gray hair, you don't want to use a lot of heat because it'll, you Yeah, you'll see people who have the kind of like yellowish in their hair. It's from too much heat. So I try to keep my hair healthy. But the outfit I picked is actually in honor of two people that I've been inspired by. One was Blake Lively in this latest movie called, I think it calls This Ends With Us.
Yes.
And in the entire movie, you know, Blake is very much a fashionista. The story's excellent. It's about domestic violence. And it really is it was a great selling novel. But in this movie, she is constantly mixing prints. And I just loved the way she looked with mixed prints. I've never mixed prints in my entire life. And
I mix them all the time.
well, and I was going to say, wait a minute.
Yeah.
The second inspiration was Melissa. Because Melissa is a Prince person. You will rarely see Melissa in salads. Once in a while, it's not like she never wears salads. But Melissa is kind of known for her prints, where I'm more of a salad kind of gal, more kind of classic, a little too much black sometimes. You try to snap out of that. But, you know, prints here and there, but never mixed. So I got in my head, I like a leopard print, and I have a leopard print skirt on it. You'll see me model in a short segment at the end of this.
Right. And but I have also listening, it's a leopard print pencil skirt that goes past her knees.
Yes.
And her top is a red button down.
Yes. Flower. And the inspiration for this was, I always used to see prints, and I did love this, especially in the 90s. They used to have leopard and rose prints. So they'd have like a leopard print with roses interspersed in the print. So I thought I would deconstruct that look. So I have the leopard on the bottom, and I have kind of the flowers on the top, which the flowers kind of are in the same kind of dot pattern as the leopard. So they don't take away from each other. Like if I had a plaid top on, I would look completely ridiculous. But this kind of is at least my attempt at trying to deconstruct that leopard and roses print line with it. And I want to give a shout out, talk about jewelry.
Yes.
You see my stirrup necklaces? Can you see these on camera? I got these recently. I met another wonderful woman named, let me get my glasses, gang, because I don't want to get Delphine's last name wrong. I met a woman at a recent FGI, which is Fashion Group International event, called Delphine Potview. And Delphine is a jewelry designer, and she makes the most. You would love it, Melissa. It's your kind of jewelry, really. She makes these big, huge, rubbery necklaces. She makes all kinds of jewelry, but she's got a whole section of what she calls equestrian style, which I love. And that's where I saw these stirrup necklaces, and I've layered them, and they're just on a suede cord, and they're adorable. Her company is called Nyet, N-Y-E-T, and you can get her jewelry on Nyet.com. So you just put Nyet.com, and you can see Delphine's entire collection of jewelry. I think she's fabulous. Also, if you notice my bangles, I've had these two bangles before, but this bangle here, the kind of curvy one, is a new one. And I'll link this down because I can't remember the lady's name. But at Brenda, another content creator that I had talked to at another curio event, told me about this designer, because Brenda's always got fabulous jewelry on too. And she actually makes these pieces and sells them on Etsy. And I thought it was just fabulous. And it kind of really goes together with this whole set. So I'm very clanky today.
And listener, you have to know that this particular bangle that she is talking about is golden, and it's like kind of twisted.
Yeah.
What is that donut? A cruller, the one that's twisty.
Yeah.
But kind of not perfectly symmetrical.
Yeah.
And you can still see the fingerprints of the artist.
Yes.
In the paint.
It's really like a handmade piece. Yeah.
Really gorgeous. It's
Yeah.
very like organic.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Right. It doesn't look like something that's stamped out.
No, it doesn't.
And we don't like stamped out fashion. We like to look unique. Are we unique? But anyway, so that's kind of the story of why I picked out this outfit. I was inspired by Blake Lively and Melissa with all her prints. And I thought, I'm going to take a stab at that. And I don't think it was bad. it wasn't a bad first attempt. Mixing, I think, don't you think, Melissa, that mixing prints is kind of an art? Because either you can do it really badly and look like you just took stuff out of your hamper and put it on, or it can look really edgy. What do you have any rules? Do you have any rules about how you mix your prints?
No, I just have to like it. It's the eye. It's the eye. It's the eye. So I've been reading this book called The Psychology of Fashion, and part of it, why we wear what we wear, it was other people perceive the confidence in you of what you were wearing. And that's a lot of it. So it's not, people are judging you what you're wearing.
Right.
They have their own preconceived notions and like whatever that is, like, oh, they're wearing color yellow. That's
whatever.
But there is real psychology behind. There's a lot of studies behind this that say whatever you are wearing, if you are wearing it and you feel good in it, you feel beautiful in it, then people will perceive you as beautiful. So I don't have any hard, fast rules for prints because they're always surprising.
Right.
Right. I can take this out. I almost wore this with those polka dotted black and white pants. I don't know so much. But then I realized we're doing a lot of costume changes.
Yeah.
I want to just keep one like bottom piece on.
Right.
But it's just doesn't feel good to me in that day for what I'm doing.
Okay.
And I don't know if you have hard, fast fashion rules.
I really, I do a little bit. I tend to, because I'm tiny. You have to know, I am vertically challenged. I'm actually sitting on a book right now.
I sit on books.
I'm sitting on a book because I'm 5 feet tall and she's 5'9". So you can imagine us together. We're, I look like her child.
Right. Which is why if you see full-length pictures of us, I'm never wearing heels.
No, and she just squishes down.
Yeah,
she squishes down.
I'm trying to make it perfect, but sitting there,
I got her like the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I've seen the last few podcasts on our. By the way, if you want to see the podcast, you can see it on Spotify,
right?
And you can also watch it on YouTube. If you're listening, you'll just see that first picture,
right? If you're like listening on Apple Podcasts or something,
right? But I saw our last few and I was like, why do I look so sloppy? And I was like, oh, I'm like hunching down.
I make everybody hunch over to be my height. I will not, literally. We'll take pictures of these fashion events and these girls are like 6 feet tall and I'll tell them, switch down, and they all are like stooped down so that they don't look too much taller than me because it's just such it's like they're up here and here's me. Right. So that being said, I am petite. And so you do have to watch your body type when you're small like I am, because I don't want to look like I'm being eaten by my clothes.
Ouch.
So I tend to go for smoother silhouettes, tighter silhouettes. Even if I'm wearing something blousey or baggy, I'll tend to belt it just so it'll give me some shape. Because, if I was 5'9" like Melissa, I could get away with it. But because I'm so tiny, even if I wear high heels, and believe me, I'm very comfortable in 4-inch stilettos. I have no problem wearing those on my leg. But I'm still tiny even with the stilettos. So I tend to pick more body-fitting clothes. As far as color, because of my silver hair, I think more colors have opened up to me because it's such a neutral hair color. So my hair color, before I was gray, my hair for about 15 years was blonde, like blonde highlighted or whatever. And there were certain colors like yellows and things like that I wanted to stay away from. But I tend to, because I can't come from the corporate world, I had a 30-year career in mental health. And I tended to dress more corporate-like. So I tend to have more of a classic style. And I try to be a little bit edgy, and especially now that I'm not, stuck to a desk. I can be a little bit more creative with the way I look, and I've always loved jewelry. So I tend to experiment with different jewelries. Like I said, now I'm trying a little bit mixing prints. So I'm trying to get out of my box of my comfort zone. That was mainly just, classic, simple silhouettes, which are fine if that's what you feel comfortable in. There's nothing wrong with that. No judging us. But I've always loved really beautiful fashion.
which is totally a pivot from Teddi's Instagram, if anyone has seen it.
Teddi loves fashion.
Recently, holy crap, Teddi, you are wearing, like, you've got feathers, you've got
a tulle.
Yeah,
I've got a big Spanish one that I have this tulle out. And
you've got a spin, your clothes are, it's pretty.
Yeah. Thank you, Dolly. Thank you. Yeah. If you want to follow me on Instagram, just a plug for myself, it's Teddi, T as in Tom, EDDI, not Y. Teddi loves fashion. And you can find me on Instagram, where my whole page is dedicated basically to fashion.
Okay.
And then, of course, I'll just throw in another plug. Melissa and I have a joint Instagram account for this podcast where you'll see clips of our guests and you'll see when the next new episodes are coming. Usually we'll be dropping a new episode a week. And that Instagram site is called All Run Together, Get Dressed for Dinner.
Right.
So
that's going to follow my Instagram. Good luck. I hardly ever post. If you find it, great.
It's melissa.fierce. Ready?
Melissa Pierce.
Yeah. Isn't it melissa.fierce? Yes. Melissa.fierce, which should be very easy for you to find. And she doesn't post very often, but maybe she'll start now. Maybe we'll get her a little bit more motivated. More work for you to do, Melissa. One thing.
Great. Love it.
So that being said, I think what would be great is talk a little bit about your background. What's your, because I introduce you as a documentarian, as an entrepreneur. Can you just give us a brief snapshot of what your career was up until the point that you and I met?
We did fall in love. Oh, Teddi, my little darling.
What are you doing?
All right. The elevator speech is that I began making documentaries when my children were small, just because I needed the stimulation of adult conversation.
I hear you.
Yes. So I started making documentaries, asking questions about human behavior, really. And my first documentary, it was called Life in Perpetual Beta, and it was about how people behave now that social media was a big thing, because it was back in 2012, 2014, and those things were just enough. So I made that documentary with the internet. They would tell me who to interview. They would tell me the questions to ask. And I would build these relationships with my audience and the people I was interviewing. So that started in documentary. And then, not surprisingly, people would start reaching out to me for my opinions on their technology and what was happening, because I was really at that edge of like what was possible and what was kind of bubbling up.
Right. Because it's so new.
So it was so new. So I started consulting for a lot of tech companies and content companies, and then started working in the startup space as a creative advisor or a branding consultant, or, what's our customer roadmap look like? How are we going to get them in? Those are just kind of my strengths. And so I kind of worked in that space for quite some time. And I think when we met, I was working for Maria Pinto.
Wait. Let me stop you. Wait.
Okay.
I remember another great story that she told me. Tell me about the purse with the charger in it.
Oh, Everpurse. So you're not the first social worker I've worked with, or the first therapist I've worked with. So I started working with this company called Everpurse, which was just this charger that was sewn into a handbag.
Sewn in.
And it charged inductively. So you would charge your handbag instead of your phone, and then you would put your phone into the special pocket of the handbag, and it would charge your phone throughout the day. And we had this partnership with Lottie Vidney.
Yeah, Lottie Vidney.
Shout out to them. We had this partnership with them, and they would make the handbags that we sewed everything into. And we sold these on a Kickstarter, and then began to sell them worldwide. And it was extremely fun. And it was very innovative. We got to run.
Is that a great idea? What happened with that?
I got to ring the NASDAQ bell.
Oh, wow. You got to ring the NASDAQ bell. Big deal. Wow, I'm impressed. I didn't know that.
This is kind of a big deal.
Oh, Carrie Bradshaw. Very Carrie Bradshaw.
So I think Everpurse, I mean, so many things happened. But, when you're a small company, you have to listen to your investors, especially get a lot of investment. I think our investors really wanted us to grow big, very small, or very quickly.
Right.
Which means we had to be less about being incorporated into high-end bags, because we had conversations with Philip and Minkoff and Spade and
So all the big
and Donna Kieran.
does that.
We had these huge conversations going. But our investors really wanted us to go get big faster.
So it meant cheaper bags.
It meant cheaper bags. And I left the company when it meant cheaper bags, because I was not interested in making a bag out of polyurethane.
Yeah.
And I think, but they went on. They sold their technology to Kate Spade, and I don't know that Kate Spade really did anything with it.
They ended up
Work with Kate Spade.
Kate Spade.
Yeah, but
no longer with us. You know.
But the founder of that company, Liz, Kate Spade was what she wanted from the beginning. She's like, I'm going to make this technology.
Yeah.
I'm going to get it into Kate Spade bags. So she did exactly what she wanted, which was really
fabulous
to support that.
Absolutely.
She did what she wanted.
Fabulous. So then what was your next step as far as, I think you told me you were a life coach at some point.
I was a life coach when I started making life in perpetual beta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I needed a job that I could do while my children took their 3-hour nap in the afternoon, because heaven bless them. They both took a nap at the same time, and it lasted 3 hours, and I could get in 2 coaching clients.
There you go. So you were a life coach, a documentarian. Tell them a little bit about the documentary that you've been working on about the woman from World War II. I think that's fascinating.
Oh, I have been working on this documentary about Rear Admiral Grace Murray Hopper.
Grace Murray Hopper.
For quite some time now. She was one of the very first computer programmers in the United States. Actually, one of the very first women to graduate with a PhD in the United States. And so she's just this groundbreaking woman who joined the Navy during World War II.
Nobody's heard of her. I never heard of her.
Every tech company has a room named after Grace Hopper.
Is it so? Really? If you go, so if you're a techie out there, you know Grace Hopper.
You might, right? And I think she has a warship named after her.
Really?
That's Hopper.
Wow.
So she really did like blaze trails for women. Although if you had asked her at the time, she wouldn't say that she was a feminist, or just with like the connotations, I guess, in
right,
military women. But she really did like break down all of these barriers for women and for a career. So I am making this documentary about her, and where we are now is every interview we could ever shoot with anyone who's still living is in the can, and now we're doing the creative parts of it, which involve creating dolls.
Right. So it's kind of like this, the dolls are going to kind of interweave the segments together, right?
Because Grace Hopper had an extensive doll collection in this dollhouse that she had kept from childhood. So we're using that to kind of weave together the story.
Yeah.
And then now that AI tools are available, I can use a lot of that to kind of enhance the story. So the creative part is, it's taken a long time to make this, but the creative part is probably the most exciting to me.
Right. Well, I can't wait to see this.
I can't wait to finish it. Yeah. Honestly, get put it away and never do a biopic. And just go back to asking philosophical questions, and which are more fun for me.
Well, it sounds like you've had an exciting, very eclectic career so far. Me, on the other hand, I'm pretty much, I finished my undergraduate and graduate degree when I was raising my son. So I didn't even start college until the age of 27. Got my master's degree at 35. My undergraduate degree is in psychology. My master's is in social work. I ran for public office. I ran for state representative in an area that was once very, very Republican. And I'm a Democrat. So just so you know. But I eventually landed, I worked as a therapist for 5 years. I am an LCSW, licensed clinical social worker. Worked as a therapist for 5 years, but found that I really had more interest in the business side of things.
Yeah.
And so I interviewed at Elmhurst Memorial Hospital in Elmhurst, Illinois, and I got a position, brand new created position called Manager of Business Development. And my two functions in that, well, I would say three functions in that, was to run our intake center. So those were the nurses who would do the assessments, pick up the phone calls, that kind of thing. Marketing our services to schools, police, all kinds of businesses, etc. And my third function was to negotiate managed care contracts. This was in the early to mid 90s when managed care had just first come into being. And of course, behavioral health is always seen as this side part of medicine, when in fact, psychiatry is medicine. You have to be a medical doctor to be a psychiatrist. But we're always kind of looked at or put in a different category, kind of like your dentist. You know, they pretend like your teeth aren't attached to your body in some way, shape, or form. It's the same thing with mental health. So when the managed care companies came along, they would create two contracts, one for the hospital services and one specifically for behavioral health services. So they had a managed care woman who was the director of the managed care department at the hospital. She had no background in mental health, really didn't know much about our services, what the going rates were, that kind of thing. And so I was hired to negotiate those contracts as well, too. So I got a lot of great experience in marketing and in business from that position, which I was in for 12 years. Worked my way up and eventually became the head of my department, was the director of behavioral health, ran an inpatient unit, outpatient services, including a partial hospital intensive outpatient care. And then I also had social workers in the emergency department. So it's a rather big job, rather stressful. We got, we merged with Edward Hospital in Naperville. And as you know, with most mergers, slowly but surely, they kind of start going at the upper level management and replacing it with their own or making cuts and tweaks. At the age of 63, I was let go after 22 years at Elmhurst Hospital. And within 6 weeks, I became the executive director of a community substance use disorder program called Breaking Free in Aurora. And so I ran that organization for 3 years. And before I left, I merged it with another group called Mutual Ground, which is a shelter for women who are suffering from domestic violence. And I talked to Michelle, who was the executive director at that time, and I said, you know, you really need substance use services because there's 50% of domestic violence cases entail the use of alcohol or drugs by either one or both partners. So we thought it was just a great melding of the two operations. And so before I left, that's what we did, which was a big project working on a merger. So now I'm off. I've been retired for 4 years, started my Instagram page, have been doing that for a little less than 2.5 years when I met Melissa here, and we decided we're going to broaden our horizons. We're going to do something we both love. Melissa's great at filming. I love to talk. I love to talk and draw. So that's my only reason for being on this podcast.
No lies detected.
So anyway, that's pretty much it, gang. We just thought we'd give you a little snippet of who we are, what we're about. At the end of this particular program today, we will do a little modeling of our complete outfit so you can kind of get a little bit of an idea of our style, because naturally in the podcast, we're always sitting down and you really can't see what we're wearing. So we want you to get a little idea of our style. But we have some great guests coming up, and we interview people from all over the fashion spectrum. So stay tuned. We think you'll really love our shows.
I think that's right. But I do have a question.
Yes.
So we're gonna. I was like, oh, we're gonna rewind this and like cut. But now because Teddi is being so adorable, we're just gonna let this roll.
Roll.
So Teddi, I have a question. It came to me while you were talking about your background, and it is, if as a behavioral health therapist, if you were to like work with this idea that we are dressing for dinnering,
Yes.
they were your why don't we dress for dinner anymore? How would you diagnose that?
Okay, it's that's a hugely complex question, which I could talk about for a million hours. And that's why we're doing this show, because we want to hear all of the fashion industry people's take on this. But my personal take on this is that I think, just historically, in my mind, this is how it happened. When I was in high school, which was in the late 60s, and I graduated in 1971, I am a 70-year-old woman, okay? When I first started high school as a freshman, girls could not even wear culottes to school because that was considered pants, and you would be kicked out for the day, okay? Things started rocking and rolling in the civil rights movement and the women's rights movement, the end of the 60s, 70s, the hippies, the free love, that kind of thing. Kids started complaining, signing petitions, doing all kinds of things in high schools all around the country. And we finally got to wear blue jeans to school in my senior year. So I was like 17 years old in my senior year.
1971.
1971. I graduated from high school when I was 17. So I believe when we went from you have to dress for school because they're preparing you to dress for business. That was the whole thought of it. We're dressing you. We're making you dress how you would dress in the real world going to work. We want you to get used to dressing for a job. And then when we kind of casualed up in the early 70s where we were allowed to wear blue jeans, I even used to wear, I remember, a ballet leotard under my jeans. Everybody was trying new and different kinds of clothes. I think, to me, that was the pivotal point in the casualization of our fashion, because once that started to roll, now you look at kids going to school, they got their pants hanging, they got the backpacks, they got, nobody is wearing pajamas. They wear pajamas to school. So I think it just kind of stemmed from being casual, that little step that we took in the 70s, to being casual at school. Remember then we went to, in the 90s, Casual Fridays. You remember Casual Fridays? At the work. Now, at my place, Casual Friday was meant that you couldn't wear blue jeans, but men could wear khaki pants.
Wow.
And, how casual was that? Women could not wear blue jeans. So we called it Casual Friday, which meant men didn't have to wear a tie. They could wear like a golf shirt or something like that. The women pretty much dressed the way they always dress, because a lot of women just wore pants and a shirt anyway to work. But I believe, to me, that was the seed that started it all. Now, why we continue on that path,
are we depressed?
It's something that we can explore. Are we depressed? I don't know. I get depressed. Are you depressed?
I'm not, but I get dressed for dinner.
I do too.
I know. As a culture,
yeah.
I'm like, ooh, are we?
So ask yourselves, that'll be a good takeaway for all of you. As you leave our show today, think about, is your life special enough when you go to a party, when you go out to eat somewhere nicely, when you're going to your son or daughter's graduation? Do you make a special effort to get dressed, or are you wearing the same clothes that you go shopping in for your groceries? Are you basically wearing the same clothes that you would wear to a backyard barbecue? When you host, do you get dressed up like your guests? Or are you just wearing jeans and a t-shirt because, after all, you're serving the food? Think about that. It's kind of stimulating, because there's a lot more to fashion than just the superficial artifice that we have. What we're going to talk about on our podcast is, what's the deeper meaning of the way we dress? How does it affect us psychologically? How is the way we dress a reflection of the psychological attitude of the times? Or do we, by the way we dress, change the psychological attitude of the times? So those are some deep questions for you to keep in your mind. Stay tuned. We'll be talking about them in some way, shape, or form in every episode to come. So stay with Melissa and I as we continue to ask the question,
why don't we dress for dinner anymore?
I don't know, Melissa. Why don't we? I wanted to step out of my comfort zone, so I tried mixing prints. I always remembered the leopard print with roses, so I thought I'd deconstruct the look for the podcast. And here's Melissa Her eclectic look is always chiffon blouse, checkered vest, pencil skirt.